Happy spring! I'm getting super extra for you guys for this lesson. Hopefully it makes you smile or laugh at me. I don't even really care. This was really fun. Look at these flowers on my face. Look at these flowers on my head. Look at these flowers on my shirt. Look at these flowers on the tree. It's flowers everywhere. I hope everybody had a really great spring break. And I really would love to hear if any of you did anything besides just sit in your house the entire time. Maybe you went somewhere swimming or fishing or hiking, as long as you're doing it socially distanced appropriate. I'd love to hear about it. So let's get started for the day. So your first vocabulary word for today is colloquial, and it's kind of like the word dialect. If someone says colloquial language, they just mean the specific words and phrases that are defined by a particular dialect, typically a region of the United States or something like that. Your second vocabulary word today is protagonist. Protagonist refers to the main character of the story. Not necessarily a good guy, but the main character, what most of our action and conflict focuses around. Your next vocabulary word is tension. And tension refers to the way we feel uncomfortable or we feel a sense of suspense based on what is going on in a particular story. Your next vocabulary word for this week is resolution. And resolution refers to how the conflict, the central conflict in a story, is resolved. Meaning, what happened? So if the character was facing a major crisis, how did that crisis turn up? Were things actually turning out the way the character wanted them to? Or did things not turn out the way the character wanted? Your last vocabulary word for the day is epiphany. And this one you may not have heard of before, but epiphany just means that the character has an intense and sudden realization about something that they previously did not understand. So, for instance, when you suddenly realize after a life-changing event that time is precious, that can be considered an epiphany. Now, I'm going to read a short narrative to you written by Ernest Hemingway, and it's called The Old Man at the Bridge. Old Man at the Bridge was inspired by Hemingway's travels as a war correspondent during the Spanish Civil War in the 1930s. In fact, the story was originally composed as a news dispatch from Amposta Bridge over the Ebro River on Easter Sunday in 1938, as the fascists were set to overrun the region. Hemingway was writing for the North American Newspaper Association, but decided to submit this snippet of writing as a short story to a magazine, instead of as a journalistic article, which accounts, to a certain extent, for its short. An old man with steel-rimmed spectacles and very dusty clothes sat by the side of the road. There was a pontoon bridge across the river, and carts, trucks, and men, women, and children were crossing it. The mule-drawn carts staggered up the steep bank from the bridge, with soldiers helping push against the spokes of the wheels. The trucks ground up and away, heading out of it all, and the peasants plodded along in the ankle-deep dust. But the old man sat there without moving. He was too tired to go any farther. It was my business to cross the bridge, explore the bridgehead beyond, and find out to what point the enemy had advanced. I did this and returned over the bridge. There were not so many carts now, and very few people on foot, but the old man was still there. "Where do you come from?" I asked him. "From San Carlos," he said, and smiled. That was his native town, and so it gave him pleasure to mention it, and he smiled. "I was taking care of animals," he explained. "Oh," I said, not quite understanding. "Yes," he said, "I stayed, you see, taking care of animals. I was the last one to leave the town of San Carlos." He did not look like a shepherd, nor a herdsman, And I looked at his black, dusty clothes and his gray, dusty face and his steel-rimmed spectacles and said, "What animals were they?" "Various animals," he said, and shook his head. "I had to leave them." I was watching the bridge and the African-looking country of the Ebro Delta and wondering how long now it would be before we would see the enemy, and listening all the while for the first noises that would signal that ever-mysterious event called contact. And the old man still sat there. "What animals were they?" I asked. "There were 3 animals altogether," he explained. "There were 2 goats and a cat, and then there were 4 pairs of pigeons." "And you had to leave them?" I asked. "Yes, because of the artillery. The captain told me to go because of the artillery." "And you have no family?" I asked, watching the far end of the bridge where a few last carts were hurrying down the slope of the bank. "No," he said. "Only the animals," I stated. "The cat, of course, will be all right. A cat can look out for itself. But I cannot think what will become of the others." "What politics have you?" I asked. "I'm without politics," he said. "I am 76 years old. I've come 12 kilometers now, and I think now I can go no further." "This is not a good place to stop," I said. "If you can make it, there are trucks up the road where it forks for Tortosa." "I will wait a while," he said, "and then I will go." "Where do the trucks go?" "Towards Barcelona," I told him. "I know no one in that direction," he said, "but thank you very much. Thank you again, very much." He looked at me very blankly and tiredly, then said, having to share his worry with someone, "The cat will be all right, I'm sure. There's no need to be unquiet about the cat. But the others. Now, what do you think about the others?" "Why, they'll probably come through it all right." "You think so?" "Why not?" I said, watching the far bank, where now there were no carts. "But what will they do under the artillery when I was told to leave because of the artillery?" "Did you leave the dove cage unlocked?" I asked. "Yes." "Then they'll fly." "Yes, certainly they'll fly, but the others. It's better not to think about the others," he said. "If you're arrested, I would go," I urged. "Get up and try to walk now." "Thank you," he said, and got to his feet, swayed from side to side, and then sat down backwards in the dust. "I was taking care of animals," he said dully, but no longer to me. "I was only taking care of animals." There was nothing to do about him. It was Easter Sunday, and the fascists were advancing toward the Ebro. It was a gray, overcast day, with a low ceiling, so their planes were not up. That, and the fact that cats know how to look after themselves, was all the good luck that old man would ever have. The protagonist of the story could actually be 2 different people. First, the narrator, and second, the old man at the bridge. If you want to say that the protagonist is the narrator, then the central conflict is his inability to understand why the old man refuses to move. If instead you think the old man is the protagonist of the story, then the central conflict becomes his despair at what may have happened to his hometown as a result of this war. The primary tension in the story is between the narrator and the old man. The narrator wants the old man to move away from the bridge since the fascists are soon approaching with the intent to attack. However, the old man says he is far too tired to move, and is very troubled over what may have happened to the animals he was caring for back in San Carlos. The resolution of the central conflict depends on what you decided was the protagonist of the story. So, if the protagonist is the narrator, the resolution is that the narrator experiences a realization and understanding of the old man. If instead your protagonist is the old man, then the resolution is his acceptance of his fate and impending death. The very last paragraph lets us know that the narrator has an epiphany, and that epiphany is that the old man has accepted that his life is over. And no matter what the narrator does, he's never going to convince the old man otherwise. When he says that that's the only good luck he'll ever have in his life when referring to the cats, the narrator is basically saying this war destroys everything and everyone eventually.
So I told you all I was going to get super extra for today's video, and that's all I have. Make sure you go on Google Classroom and take your little miniature quiz, and that's all you have to do for today. See ya!